Welcome to the Creative Corrosion Podcast. This show exists to help makers, doers, movers, and shakers bust through the rust of creative stagnation. We cover tools and mindset shifts to build the creative practice of your dreams. I'm your host, Belle McDaniel. Let's jump into this episode. Have you heard the story about the professor that tasked his students with creating the perfect vase? The story goes like this. The professor split his class into two teams, Team A and Team B, and he told Team A to spend the entire week planning and researching how to make one perfect vase. He then said to Team B that they could make an unlimited amount of vases to craft the perfect one. The week went on, and in the end, Team B had made so many prototypes that their vase vastly outperformed the vase that Team A made. This story illustrates the fact that preparation can only get you so far, and no amount of preparation can compensate for action. I think it's really good to understand that when learning something, you have to be willing to fail until you get it right. Failure and embarrassment is an inherent risk of creation, and with any great success, in turn, is an equal amount of failure. It's kind of like an energetic balancing act surrounding creativity. However, I don't want to talk about the bravery it takes to be creative or the obvious positive side to action and refinement in this episode. Instead, I'd like to discuss when trial and error becomes an unhealthy habit. Something I've noticed is that artists will often use perfection as a means to procrastinate. They will strive for something unobtainable in a never-ending cycle of refinement. It's not so much that they actually believe they could craft something perfect. It's more so that they use refinement as a form of self-sabotage. But why are so many creatives self-sabotaging? For me, I tend to fixate on perfection whenever I hold a belief that contradicts the success of what I'm creating. And that belief may stem from a lack of confidence or from not feeling very valid. But sometimes it's also fear that causes us to self-sabotage, the fear of the unknown. Sometimes artists are afraid of putting work out into the world because of the possibility of success, not failure. Creators are used to trial and error, but reaching success with something before giving up is actually pretty rare. It can be unnerving to not know the next step, so we keep ourselves from ever getting there. This form of self-sabotage can be found everywhere, not just in creative pursuits. Another place that this comes up a lot is in relationships. There's a phrase I recently heard that describes this perfectly. It's called the self-help trap. So in this, people will not put themselves out there or avoid genuine connections because they feel they're not yet where they want to be. So instead of becoming better partners and friends with people in their lives, they'll isolate until they feel perfect. But the trap is, you will always find something to improve while you continue to put off your connection, success, and joy to a non-existent point in time. So you can place conditions on living your life, but time will continue to pass. If you get too caught up in postponing living, you won't have anything to source from to make art. And the best art is sourced from your experiences. I can remember a few times when I did not have the luxury of procrastination through perfectionism. And one time that really stands out in my mind was my senior year of college. My last semester of college, I ended up taking 22 credit hours, all while maintaining 2 internships and a work-study position. I'd be working on projects in the lab until 2 a.m. most nights, and I was lucky to even complete my assignments, let alone make them perfect. And you'd think that my performance would suffer, but what I found was my grades actually improved, all because I got out of my own way. I think checking in on whether your refinement is fear-based is a significant action that creatives need to take. I mean this as a compliment. You're not perfect, and neither are the people who will enjoy your work. Our imperfections are what makes art relatable. It is what differentiates us from robots. I care way less about a perfect circle when compared to the story and the depth behind a wiggly oval. When you think of your favorite creatives, you might find that they're not always the best or most impressive in their field. Your favorite artists are most likely the ones who have changed you, given you an aha moment, or made you feel less alone. Whether it's a film, photo, or painting, for me, the purpose of art is communication and connection, not perfection. Deep down, most artists know when a piece they have created is good, but there is power in knowing when something is good enough. So the next time you find yourself chasing the ghost horse of perfection, ask yourself whether having a nearly perfect piece that the world will never see is better than having a good enough piece that genuinely connects with the viewer. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show and would like to connect further, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Creative Corrosion Podcast.